first time you are tuned in to the show, you get an extra special welcome. Welcome aboard to the Adrienne Ross Show. It took you so long. I'm glad you're here. And of course, those of you who are always with me, I'm glad you're here also. I'm going to jump right in. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on preliminaries. I want to just dive in, and I have to say that this is probably going to be a little bit different. Really going to be sharing my heart today. Not that I don't share my heart, I do, but it may come off as a little preachy, for a lack of a better word. And I don't mean preachy in the sense of pulling out the Bible and giving chapter and verse kind of preachy. I mean, it may seem a little bit like I'm coming down on people, and that's really not my motive, but I do want to be real today. And there were a couple things I was thinking about talking about today, but I decided that I'm going to go ahead and I am going to share my heart about some things because it's so important. And I am real, and I want to be real, even when I feel preachy, I guess, or when I feel concerned about something, or even disappointed about something. And so today, my thoughts are about the times we're living in and what it takes for people to become engaged in what is going on in our surroundings, I want to say in our country, yes, but also in our world. And it just seems that, and I've said this before, and again, I'm not trying to preach at you necessarily, and I hope people, I know my heart enough not to be offended, but I hope that people are stirred. I've said before that a person can get on social media, whatever platform they have, and they can throw a cat video out or a dog video out, and people jump all over it. And I like them too. I like the cat videos. People send me cat videos. So if you're sending me cat videos, don't be offended. I enjoy them. But there are people who are totally into that. And they'll hit that share button, they hit the like button, they hit the share button. They want to get it all out there, want everybody to see it. And that's what they do. And but then when it's something that is serious, something that impacts our lives, it's like they look the other way. They can't be bothered. And listen, I understand that it can be heavy. The things that we're seeing in our lives, those things are heavy stuff, and it can be tough. And sometimes you have to pull back and you have to just kind of breathe, because it can be overwhelming. I get it. I'm in it. I understand, right? But I just noticed that it is so difficult for some people to focus on the things that truly matter. And let me just give you an example. And I do all this, again, not to preach at you, not to condemn you or anything like that, but I hope to encourage you to just sort of expand. And if you're already in the battle, if you're already in the fight, if you're already staying engaged, then that's wonderful, okay? But if you're not, maybe this will encourage you to go a little bit deeper, because there's so much on the line. Not asking you to go deeper because it is what I need you to do. I'm asking you to go deeper because it's important for you. It's important for the people around you. It's important for the people you love, okay? So my question is, what does it take? What does it take for people to engage themselves in the things that matter? Not everybody's going to run for office, okay? Not everybody's going to have a podcast. Not everybody's going to write a column. Not everybody's going to be out there, on the streets and handing out flyers or holding meetings and events. Not everybody has the same purpose, but surely we have got to be concerned enough about what's going on in the nation and in the world that at least we tap in and do whatever part we're supposed to be doing. So the other day, I wrote and then posted a column about something that's going on in schools. Now, if you are even the slightest bit tuned in, you know that children are a target. You know, and speaking of Target has targeted children. I'm sure you've heard about that, about the grooming, about the joining in with Satanists and really going after children. The Pride Month wasn't even just what it has been. It's been like an all-out effort to grab children, to groom children. They told us they're coming after the children, and the trans agenda is just off the wall, and just encouraging children to cut off body parts and not to accept who to accept themselves as the person God has called them to be. But I wrote this column about school libraries. You may, I hope, have heard that in school libraries, in public and private schools, there's a book called Gender Queer. It's called Gender Queer. It's written by someone named Maia Kobabe, and it is a graphic novel. And I say that it's a graphic novel, not just in the literary sense of a graphic novel, but it's graphic. It's a memoir. It's what she considers her autobiographical, and it is concerning. And I talked about it or wrote about it because the National Education Association, the largest teachers union in the nation, the NEA, put it on the list of recommended reading for educators, okay, for summer reading. And they say it's for educators, but it is among the most challenged books. Okay, it tops the list, and it has for a few years, the most challenged books, because though the NEA says they want educators to read it, again, it's in the school libraries, public and private schools. And so I wrote this column, and I started it by saying, is Gender Queer by Maia Kobabe in your child's school library? If you don't know, find out today. Okay. And so Gender Queer it's graphic. It is absolutely graphic. And so I want to show you something. And it includes sexual language, this book, and explicit pictures of boys having anal and oral sex. Why am I talking about this? What do I mean when I say I sound preachy? What do I mean when I say I'm sharing my heart? What I mean is that we have got to know and care about what's going on. You might say, well, I don't have any children, so it doesn't affect me. Yes, this is a part of our culture, and we should all be concerned about what's going on in our schools, because it's not like something new. It's not like something rare. It's becoming the norm. How in the world can a book, and like I said, I'm going to show you something in a moment. How in the world can a book like this, with images like this, make its way into our schools with our children? I'll tell you how, because there's an agenda to normalize this. There's an agenda to sexualize children. Okay, I've talked about this recently on a podcast, the sexualization of children. I gave information about the World Health Organization and the United Nations, and I'm going to get into it a little bit again about what they're planning, what they're doing already in Europe, and what they're planning for our children, for those who are in the United Nations. Okay, so here's this book. I'm just going to share my screen, and I want to show you this image that comes right from the book Gender Queer by Maia Kobabe. Now, keep in mind, this is graphic. So if you're with children, if you're with young people, you want to make sure that they don't get to see this. So this is a graphic warning. So absolutely mind blowing, mind boggling, baffling, and concerning. And so I shared this. It's enough to just turn your stomach. This is available in school libraries and featured on the NEA's website. And that's concerning enough. And I share this on social media, as I do whenever I write a column or do a podcast. I share snippets, I share the links, all that stuff. And what I asked in this particular column at the end, because many of my columns are for a specific type of subscribers, and not all of them are public. Many of them are for paid subscribers, but I made this public because obviously I want everybody to see this and to know what's going on. And so I wrote toward the end, I said, this is an incredibly important column. This particular one is public, so please share it. I need your help getting the word out. We cannot be silent. That's at the end. And I had the share button. All they had to do was click the button and there it is. And so when I looked at the stats for the views of this column and for the shares, it had 2 shares. And I was like, okay, well, at least 2 people shared it. And then I realized, though, the 2 shares were mine. I had shared them. And that's the stat that I see, that not one person, it shows that 147 people at the time that I'm speaking to you now, 147 people have seen it. Now it's been less than 24 hours that it's been up at the time of this recording. But I said, okay, well, 147 people have seen it, and I shared it twice. And I asked, you can see how important this is. This book, those images that you saw, and if you're listening and not seeing, then you'd have to go to YouTube and check that out. But you see that. You see that it's oral sex, anal sex, masturbation, all this stuff that's in a graphic novel, and that's being pushed to your children. That's there for your children to see, which is highly inappropriate. And that's for lack of a better way to describe it. And I'm like, this is important. Just do your part and share it. And you know what? No one did. I didn't ask you to run for office. I didn't ask you to write a piece about it as well. I didn't ask you to do great research on it. All I said was, could you hit the share button so other people know what's going on and they can check and see, is this going on in my community? Is my child or any child having access to that evil? And I couldn't get anyone so far. Hopefully by the time you see this podcast, that'll change. But I couldn't get anybody to simply hit share. And that's why I say, what will it take for us to care enough to just do that? It's a simple question, and it's a serious question. It's not a condemning question. Like, I really, see me, I'm hitting my hand on my head. I'm serious. This is on the recommended list for educators, the NEA says, so that they can be aware of the students who are they're educating. But it's also in school libraries, private and public school libraries. And all I ask is, do you know if it's in your child's library? Do you know if it's in your community's library? Do you even know? And so I wanted to get the word out. And so I'm just asking you to just share. And of all the people who read it, okay, nobody else shared it. And then, of course, there were people who were on the list who read it and didn't open their email, and maybe they saw the heading and it wasn't a cat video, and so it just sounded too serious, and so we can't be bothered. Listen, we cannot. This is warfare, guys. And those of you in particular who have morality, and those of you in particular who are people of faith, you You may not have to write the article like I do. You may not have to stay up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning like I often do, trying to write and trying to provide the information, the valuable information that I do. You may not have to do that, but you can be a part of the process. Everybody's calling isn't the same, but you could be a part of the process of, one, being engaged yourself, and two, doing a simple thing like helping other people know what's going on to children. And I alluded in my column about a podcast that I did before about the sexualization of children. And I put the links there again, because there is an agenda from the World Health Organization and the United Nations. They believe that children should be embracing sexuality, homosexuality, masturbation, pornography. And there's a push that by 2030, this will be everywhere. This normalizes pedophilia as well. There's an agenda. Our children are being targeted, and we're watching cat videos only. Some, and those of you who are engaged, then that's wonderful. But there are others, you're not going to be engaged unless it came from Tucker Carlson, unless it came from, Newsmax and Eric Bolling, unless it came from some big name. But if it's not covering, if it's not from one of those people covering it, you couldn't be interested. And there are some who are not interested regardless. We've got to wake up. And this is why I say, I know that I'm on slippery territory, sounding preachy, but you know what? This is important enough. Let me show you this. This is, I'm going to put again in the show notes the links to the World Health Organization, United Nations agenda for children. Okay. And so I'll put those links there. You can check it out. And what I'm about to show you, it's not enough for you to get the big picture. You need to go and get the bigger picture of those standards that are there in Europe that are not intended to stay in Europe and knocking on your door, but they don't belong anywhere. So we need to be aware. Okay, so you need to see the whole thing, and the link will be there. But let me give you an overview, a really brief overview of what the plan is. And this information is quite detailed. So once again, if you have children, young people near you, you want to make sure that you remove yourself from their presence for this short part. So again, let's take a look at what's before us. Okay, this website broke it down for us, and it says teaching little kids to have sex, because that's what it's about. Okay, it says the agenda to ensure that little children have sexual partners is being further developed by the World Health Organization. Their document, Standards for Sexuality Education in Europe, contains the following instructions for kindergartens and elementary school. Children between 0 and 4 years must learn about masturbation and develop an interest in their own and others' bodies. Children between 4 and 6 years must learn about masturbation and be encouraged to express their sexual needs and wishes. Children between 6 and 9 years must learn about sexual intercourse, online pornography, having a secret love, and self-stimulation. And children between 9 and 12 years should have their first sexual experience and learn to use online pornography. This is not a joke. Again, the link in the show notes. You can look, because that's just really basic. It goes into depth, these standards, but it's not just for Europe. That's bad enough. It's for the United States. That is the plan. And you're thinking that's got to be a joke. It's not a joke. The mindset is that children should be taught to embrace sexuality, and they're starting at birth. At birth, they want them into pornography, masturbation, all that, starting at birth and going through the line. They have a whole curriculum, whole standards, guys. And I say, just look at this. What does it take to get people to see something that says, hey, if you have children, if you care about children, if you know children, just read this, take a look at this, and then just share. Just do that part. Information is important. Information is absolutely important. Speaking of that, it's important how we get our information also.
Search engines should be a place for you to discover the world and make your own decisions about what you find. That's why Luxel is improving your access to information. The new search engine eliminates search engine bias that gets in the way of your searches. You can filter results to lean right or left, and from there you can sort it by Luxel's algorithm, alphabetically, and by freshness. Plus, there is no price for privacy. Luxel is free and doesn't track you or sell your data. So check out Luxel, that's LUXXLE.com, and take control of your searches.
Once again, information is vital. And then what we do with that information is also vital. Are we willing to do anything, even if it's just to hit a share button, even if it's just to make a comment and engage in conversation? When you begin to converse, when you begin to communicate, we're better together. As we say in my church, we're better together. So what I did also in that column is I said, I want to hear your thoughts. Let's engage in conversation. I know it's touchy. Listen, I know it's touchy. I know it's uncomfortable, but maybe we can have a conversation about what we're thinking about this and then steps that we can take. That's why you have an opportunity to leave a comment and to engage and to encourage one another. These are serious times, and God has trusted us to be alive during this time. It seems overwhelming. At least I feel that. I don't mean overwhelmed, like I'm gonna walk around in depression, but it's a heavy thing. It's a heavy topic. But God has trusted us to be here for such a time as this. And so I believe it's important that we do pray for what our role is. I think it's absolutely important what our role is. But until then, can we just stay engaged, and can we just get the word out about the things that need to be known? There are people who have no idea. There are people who are working 2 and 3 jobs. There are people who just, for whatever reason, do not know necessarily what's going on. And genderqueer is, they don't know that there's a book there that their kids can grab a hold of and they can read, and they can actually look at images, graphic images of sex, anal sex, oral sex. I mean, you saw the image or images. So if you can share that, I've had people since I talked about this agenda to sexualize the children and what I just shared with you, that outline. As I shared that, I've had people who reach out to me and say, you know what, I can't even. That's on my mind. I had someone reach out to me just a few days ago, a pastor, and he asked me, he's like, can you give me those links? I heard what you had said. Can you give me those links? Because this is on my mind. And I've had someone else, he reached out to me and said, can you give me those links? That was prior to that, because I want to tell everybody I know. And then I've made it easy. I put it there. I did the work. I put it there, and I'm saying, share. This is not about me. So I don't think it's about, listen, I do have a vision for where I want to take what I'm doing, my writing, my speaking. There is a vision for that, to share what I believe God has called me to share, to do what I believe God has called me to do. But this is not just about building an empire for Adrian. If you know anything about me at all, this is no empire, okay? This is trench work that I'm doing. So it's not about me, but it's about what does it take to get us to care about what is going on. God has called us here for this time. And you know what? Jesus is not coming back now to walk the face of the earth. What he has done is he has called us to go, commissioned us to go. Everybody's role is not the same. Thank God, because I can't do what other people can do. And other people are not called to do what I do, but I want to do my part. So let's be praying about that. And then when we see something that is important that other people should hear, just take a moment and just share, or go talk to someone about it, or whatever. Ask questions if you need to ask questions. We're all in this together, learning as we go. And it's like almost every day there's something else that makes you go, what in the world? But there is hope. There's hope. There is hope. There's hope in the Lord. That's where my hope comes from, because it sure ain't from this government, and it sure is not from this world. It is from the Lord, but it's also from unity with other people who also care, And we need to be praying as well. Prayer is a powerful weapon, but you're not praying, I guarantee, about something that you don't know about, that you're not aware about. And so, I said this might come off preachy. Yeah, I'm not condemning, I'm not doing anything, but what you hear from me is you hear a passion, and you hear some disappointment for sure, but you hear passion, and you hear the weight of the times in which we're living. Our children, and I'm just talking about the children, because if that should grab us, if nothing else. But there are so many things. There's so many things that I don't know. I don't understand. I try to be aware of what's going on, but there are a lot of things that go over my head. And like I said, you can't just totally immerse yourself, cover yourself, and all this stuff 24/7, all that. You've got to breathe. Yes, you've got to breathe. But at some point, you've got to catch your breath, and you've got to engage in what's going on. That is so, so important. So thank you for hearing my heart. And I'm kind of got that look on my face because, again, I don't want to come across as condemning or anything like that. But I want to stir you to just consider what I'm saying. That's all that I ask. You consider what I'm saying. So this was a bit heavy. Yeah, but I think it's necessary. So I make no apologies for that. Thank you for tuning into the Adrienne Ross Show. And I ask that you would share this with other people. I ask also that you would go to my Substack. That's adrienneross.substack.com. For those of you who don't know, that's SUBSTACK. adrienneross.substack.com. Subscribe. There are various subscription options. I'd love you to be part of that. And in addition to that, there are people who, they click and they put their email in and they become subscribers. And then, they're not engaged in what's going on. So I ask that you not just subscribe, because I don't just want a huge subscription list, which I don't have, but I don't want just to have a huge subscription list to make it look like I have all these subscribers, but you're not benefiting from that. I'm giving content that I believe is important. And so I ask you to subscribe. And I ask you to stay engaged in what's going on in the way that you best can. All right. So adrienneross.substack.com. Also go to YouTube, subscribe, share. Major podcast platforms, you're able to leave a rating and a review. I would appreciate that if you could take a moment even and just rate. If you love it, give it a 5-star rating. If you hate it, well, you can indicate that as well, but it gives me something to go by, and I guess it does something out there, as far as algorithms go. I don't understand all that, but I know those things matter in terms of people who subscribe, etc. So I ask that you do that. And of course, I saved the best for last. Please make your way to thebmgnetwork.com. That is thebmgnetwork.com, where you will find other podcasters. As always, I have to let you know, we are engaging, enlightening, informative, and even entertaining. So check out the other podcasters there at the BMG Network. And I'll leave you with this ask, and that is that you will be praying as I need to be praying about what it is that God would have us do during this time. He has us here for a purpose. All right. So again, thank you for tuning in to the Adrienne Ross Show, and I will catch you next time. God bless you abundantly.